Welcome to the Rapid Research Podcast, where two friends answer the big questions after searching the internet for 30 minutes.
Welcome into the Rapid Research Pod. So glad to have you here this evening. I am here with my illustrious friend, Tyler Juvenal. We are
I don't even know what illustrious means.
Honestly, I couldn't define it for you, but I think it means good.
I think illustrious is one.
Well-to-do.
Illustrious is one of those words that people use it in a variety of ways, and there's not a consistency of this is what I mean by illustrious. So, illustrious, according to Google, means well-known, respected, and admired for past achievements. So it's the opposite. What's the word that's the opposite of? Not renowned. I'm looking up illustrious.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Illustrious but bad.
Illustrious but bad.
Oh, infamous.
Dude, we're not even
infamous.
to the research section, right?
Infamous.
Infamous.
Yeah. That's what I was meaning. So illustrious. I think illustrious and infamous are on two sides of the same coin, where you could technically use, in common vernacular, common English, you could use those two words synonymously, but they mean totally opposite things. One is a very good thing, one is a very bad thing, but they're both based on previous achievements. They're based on the past.
So illustrious is you've got a good reputation, and infamous is you have a bad reputation.
Exactly. Anyway, this is the Rapid Research Podcast. We are so happy to be here today. My name is Tyler Juvenal. That's Joel Montgomery. Check us out on social media at Rapid Research Pod on Instagram, Facebook, wherever else you look at social media. We're probably there. Give us a look up. And we'll see you there.
All right, Tyler, we have a topic this week that I think could be interesting to both of us as people who like to travel. Which is strange museums in this world. Now, Tyler, do you have any preconceived notions or thoughts that you would like to get into here?
Yes, I would like to move on to Hot Take Heaven.
Hot Take Heaven.
So,
This could get interesting.
Strange museums are so polarizing. And what I mean by that is on a given day, I may be so excited to go to a museum on Tuesday. You say, "Hey Tyler, there's this museum I kind of want to go to." And on Tuesday, I'll be like, "Dude, say no more. Let's hit up this museum. It's going to be the greatest thing ever." But then you say on Thursday, "Dude, Tyler, I've got this museum I want to hit up. It's kind of interesting. I may say on Thursday, dude, that is the stupidest idea you have ever had. We are not doing that."
And it could be the same museum.
It could be the same. It could be the same exact museum. That's how polarizing museums are to me.
Right. See, that's interesting. Now, I grew up going to museums a lot.
I did too.
When we went to family vacations or whatever, we spent more time doing museums or my family's been to every fort in the country. Okay, we went to tons of forts when I was a kid. We loved forts.
They all kind of seemed the same to me.
See, and that's kind of what I noticed by the time I was 11.
Okay. It's before.
But
from 1 to 10, you were like, these are the coolest things ever. 11 is just boom. These are all the same.
I can tell you exactly the moment where I realized they were all the same because we went to Mackinac Island.
Uh-huh.
And they had one fort that they moved locations, but the one fort was still there. So we went to two of the same fort on the same vacation. And it was that moment where I realized, all of these are the same. I think I'm good. Don't need more forts. So, all that to say, museums are really interesting to me. It's a very deep part of my upbringing, going to tons of different types of museums. And I love them. I really love them. and I want to go to the weird ones, but also sometimes you go to those weird ones and you're like a little scarred afterwards.
You might not be able to tell us from the first thing, but I genuinely do love good museums. I have always been terrified of strange museums. It could be okay. Obviously, there's that conception of a doll museum, and doll museums so scary. And I've never actually been.
Do exist.
I've never actually been to one, but like it could be something like the dog museum, and I would just be freaked out going to it. Not like freaked out in the sense of like I'm gonna pee my pants, but freaked out in the sense of this is the most uncomfortable thing that I have ever been called to do. And that's the impression that I'm getting even before we go into the research. Like, I'm not looking forward to this.
So would you say that you're uncomfortable going into something when you just don't know what to expect from it? Or is it specific topics that freak you out?
Yeah, I'm not super nervous when it comes to stuff when I don't know what to expect. I'm a pretty outgoing guy. Like, I'm very spontaneous. But when I know the topic and the topic comes across as strange, i.e. some of the ones that we are about to find on the internet, it throws me off and I don't like it.
Okay, so like if you had to go to like a Green Bay Packers museum you'd never been to, it wouldn't throw you off.
No, because that's something that a lot of people... Okay, and I think this is the root of it. I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of people would have normal interest in going to a Green Bay Packers museum or a museum of their team of choice. However, the people who created the museum, the Denture Museum, or the Museum of Dog Toys.
Oh, man. I did not like that.
Right? These people believe, the people who made it, believe to some degree that this is necessary for the public. And that's a very specific type of person. And the people who are going to these museums believe something about this museum. Either this is hilarious and we should go, or, wow, this is a really important thing for our society to know. And those are not my people.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, I've got some hot takes.
Yeah. So basically, the more niche topic, the weirder the people are likely to be.
Absolutely.
That I have not thought of it, but you are absolutely correct.
I thank you. All right. Well, I hate to say it, but let's get into this and get it over with.
All right, I'll see you in 30. All right, we are back. Tyler, I would like to say for the record...
I was right, wasn't I?
That you... Well, I want to make it clear on the record that you picked this topic.
No, that is absolutely false. We went through the list, and I said, hey, what about Hamilton? And you said, no, we need to be better at our podcast to do Hamilton. And then you said... How about strange museums? And I said, okay.
You had veto power on this one, okay? You had veto power and you did not take it.
And you seek to turn that against me?
I think that you are responsible at this point for what's about to happen. So let's just dive right in.
I want to start by saying that everything that we talked about beforehand ended up being correct, and I hated everything about this. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some museums out there that we are not going to discuss on this show. And
oh, absolutely not.
There is some collections of things out there that are just not for the faint-hearted.
There are some collections out there that shouldn't be for the any-hearted. But, like, specifically the faint of heart. And, oh my word. Okay, I'm just going to start.
For certain. Go ahead, Joel. Have fun.
I'm going to just jump right in here. This is actually the last one I found. The Novelty Automation Museum.
Okay.
So, I couldn't quite figure out what this was supposed to be at first. This is in London. Do you know, have you ever been to like a wax museum or something like that? Which, by the way, wax museums, creepy as all get out.
Yeah.
Don't know how many you've been to.
I've been to one.
Not a fan. Not a fan at all. You ever go and you see one of those like little boxes that you can put a quarter into, and there's like a guy there with a crystal ball, and he'll tell you your fortune?
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So like you'll find these in museums here and there. It's an entire museum filled with those things. So like the one he has here on it's owned by one guy, of course. This one is a doctor, and by the way, there is no glass. You can reach in and touch this one. And he has his hands together, and it says at the top that this is a chiropodist. And you are to lift your foot up, put it between the thumbs of the hands, you put the quarter in, and it gives you a foot massage.
Joel, I didn't understand anything that you were saying up until you said foot massage. And then it all made sense of what you were trying to explain, and I hated all of it.
By the way, this thing looks like a Satan-spawned claymation, okay? I am
the whole
so
museum?
uncomfortable. Like the people that are, it's because this looks like a person.
Yeah, I'm looking at it
has
online,
two
and
hands.
it is a terrifying. I would not.
This whole.
I was about to say I would not be caught dead in there, but I think by going in there, I would be dead.
I am so uncomfortable with everything that's going on in this place.
Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to the show, we will try to give you some museums that you should go to today in the show, but there's going to be so many that we don't think anybody should go to.
Yep, definitely.
So I think let's do this. At the end, let's give a thumbs up of I would go there or a thumbs down of I would not go there.
Okay, do we need to even talk about this one?
Yes. Would you go there?
No. Thumbs down.
Okay.
Absolute thumbs down.
I would also be a thumbs down on that. All right.
Okay.
There's a museum in Somerville, Massachusetts called the Museum of Bad Art, or MOBA for short.
Okay.
This is a museum that's dedicated to bad art. It has a collection of pieces that are intentionally or unintentionally terrible. I was looking at it, and for some of them, like they have a collection room where it's just portraits that are awkward.
Okay. So it's not all badly made art. It's just art that shouldn't have been made.
The tagline for it is art too bad to be ignored.
So it's not just like, it's not all just looks like a 4-year-old drew it. It's like art that you're just like uncomfortable with sometimes.
Let me put it this way. It's infamous art.
Oh my word.
Would you go there or would you not? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm going to say I probably actually would not be opposed to going. So I'll give it the thumbs up.
I'm giving it a thumbs down. I would not go there.
Here's the thing, and we have to keep in mind, like, I feel like we're not necessarily saying we would prioritize this place, right? Because, like...
Yeah, no way.
I'm not saying that... probably none of these places would I prioritize. I'm saying if I was in that place, in that city, that town, and I'd seen everything else I wanted to see and have time to kill, am I going to go to this place?
Sure. There are 2 that I found that I would prioritize.
Okay.
We'll come to those when we come to them.
Okay. I have next, this one is actually about 10 minutes from me currently, from where I work.
Okay.
This is the Teeny Statue of Liberty Museum.
I think we walked past that, didn't we?
We may have actually when we visited. This place is right next to like an antique store, which is where they get a lot of these things. The gentleman who owns this spot has been collecting for 33 years. He has over 650 pieces. Every single piece represents the Statue of Liberty in some way or another. He has socks. He has Barbies. He has knives. He has a Mickey Mouse, a Miss Piggy, Chia Pets. He has, quote, Bugs Bunny on a plate dressed as the Statue of Liberty.
Wait, so all of those are dressed as the Statue of Liberty. So you have Barbie dolls
yes.
dressed as the Statue of Liberty.
Yes, you have Barbies, you have Miss Piggy, Mickey Mouse. I actually saw like one of the M&M characters dressed as the Statue of Liberty. Most of these are ceramics.
Do you remember when what was the insurance agency? Was it Liberty Mutual that
Liberty.
were they the ones that would have somebody dress up as the Statue of Liberty and wave a sign outside? Or is that a different...
I think that was them, yeah.
Okay, you keep talking about this one. I'll figure it out.
Okay. There's really not much more to it than that. He said it's about a 10 by 16 room. It's not big at all. Entrance fee is 50 cents. But you can get a lifetime pass if you donate something. So...
Okay.
It's a very straightforward, everything is the Statue of Liberty, and he'll take literally anything that he can find.
So it must have been Liberty Mutual. I mean, there's no other... If they didn't have that in their promotional stuff at one point, they're doing something wrong.
That's fair. You give me a thumbs up or a thumb down?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thumbs down. Okay, sorry. Back to it. We're saying, this is not I would prioritize this or not. This is I would not step in there or I would step in there, right?
Yeah, I think we're going with that route.
Okay, so then, yeah, thumbs up. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is actually, kind of one of my favorite museums as I looked into it. I thought it was super weird when I first looked at it, but then I was like, this is actually super unique. It's called the Museum of Broken Relationships. Did you see this one?
I saw it, but I didn't actually look into it.
Okay, so I think you're gonna have a little bit of regret there from not looking into it. So basically,
okay,
this couple broke up. Somebody in that relationship said, "What do couples do with objects that meant a lot to them in their relationship? Do they just throw them away? Or what do they do?" So for example, a random drawing that a stranger drew for you guys, and it's just on a napkin, whatever, but it's it encaptured a moment. And you kept that, even though it's not valuable at all, but it's something that explains your relationship. But then when you break up, what happens to that? Well, the Museum of Broken Relationships, it's a museum dedicated to those failed relationships where people donate objects that meant a lot to them, and they donate them with a little story of love, heartbreak, separation, and the museum holds on to those things. It's actually it's a really interesting idea. And so
yeah,
it's actually kind of become this worldwide phenomenon where people from all around the world are sending in their objects with a story about them, and then they're displayed in these museums. There's 3 museums currently. The original one is in Croatia. Then they expanded to Thailand, and then they have one in Los Angeles now. That's kind of the gist of it. There's at least 2 things that I found that I thought were hilarious. Well, one of them is hilarious. One of them could be a little scary.
Okay.
Well, we'll start with the potentially scary one. One of the most famous items in the museum is a rusty chainsaw, which was used in a breakup to, quote unquote, cut off emotional ties.
Oh, no.
It's a symbol of a messy but emotionally charged separation. I don't know how to take that.
Oh, my word. I can tell you that was probably the most toxic relationship of all time.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that, I don't want to sound bad here, but likely the female in that relationship said, "I just don't know how I'm going to get over this. I'm so, invested here." And the male in that relationship said, "I've got an idea." Goes outside, gets his really old chainsaw and says, grab a piece of wood, and just like, they probably wrote their names on either side of the wood and just cut the wood in half. Something of that order, because that guy was sitting there going, I will do literally anything at this point to make this over. And that's how they did it.
That was a really deep potential story.
That's my guess. And I'm going to guess that both of those people are so glad that they broke up.
All right. The other object that I found that I thought was hilarious, but also really passive aggressive, was this. It's in their collection. It's called the Toaster of Vindication. The couple was together from 2006 to 2010 in Denver, Colorado. And the caption said this: when we broke up and I moved across the country, I took the toaster. That'll show you. How are you going to toast anything now?
That's the pettiest thing I've ever heard.
It's
like that.
It's kind of funny.
That person.
It's true though. How are they going to toast
like,
anything without a toaster?
How are they going to toast anything? Because we now know that the person who left was the only person who knew how to use a frying pan.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The person who cares about the food that we eat in this house.
Right, that person. And the other person did not care at all.
The other person has no regard.
Right, it's like if you have a person who literally could eat Campbell's soup every day and you took the can opener. Yes. Like, that's what's going on here. This person was perfectly content with the toast and cereal every morning, and the other person slaved to give them eggs and bacon and pancakes every morning and was like, fine, I'm leaving and I'm taking your source of joy that you didn't appreciate about me.
Yes. Okay, last thing about this museum is that sometimes they take the museum on the road and they visit different places, but they offer what they call healing sessions, where visitors can contribute their own breakup artifacts and tell their personal stories of heartache, making the experience quite interactive and cathartic. So it's basically Alcoholics Anonymous, but with relationships.
Relationships Anonymous.
Yeah.
Which should honestly be a dating website.
Yeah, that would be a very messy dating website.
A dating website where you don't get to meet the person until like 6 months in.
I hate everything about that idea. Can you imagine how messy that would be? It's just a bunch of broken people trying to find their sufficiency in each other.
That's a terrible thing. I'm actually very sad that I came up with that. But also I know that if I founded that today, I would be a millionaire within 3 months.
Well, we've always talked about getting rich.
We have, yes. Something we'll probably be talking about for a very long time.
So unless we do, we will still keep talking about it. Okay, would you visit the Museum of Broken Relationships, yes or no?
Yeah, I think I would. I think that there is enough of a humorous aspect to it that just seeing all the passive aggression, I think would be really funny, and I would have a very good time.
All right, it's a thumbs up for me.
So thumbs up for me. Okay, I have for you here, I'm going to start with a story of how this museum started. So this museum is in Avanos, Turkey. And the museum is actually underneath of a pottery shop in Turkey. The owner, many years ago, had an intern that ended up becoming a friend. And the intern was leaving Avanos for good. And they kind of had a thing going, I think, but it wasn't serious. Just kind of, there was a mutual attraction. He said, as a keepsake and to remember you, could I cut off a lock of your hair?
What year was that? Do you remember?
I don't remember the year.
Because I think historically it's a pretty normal thing.
Yeah, and I think it's more normal in other cultures that aren't American to cut off a lock of hair. And so he kept that. He had a couple of ladies come into his shop later, and he told them this story. And they said, wow, that's really cool. And they cut off locks of their hair and gave them to him. And this became a thing. And he actually took a room that was underneath his shop, kind of like a stone basement, like if you can imagine that, almost like a catacomb looking place, and started displaying these locks downstairs.
That's
this is
like
the
that's
Avanos.
serial killer type stuff.
This is the hair museum in Turkey. How many locks of hair do you think that he now has from women all over the world? Just women all over the world.
Is it still confined to his basement?
It is still confined to underneath of his place. Yes, they are posted on the wall, and each display has the name and address of the person who gave it.
Okay, so it's basically just come in and donate, and he probably doesn't do all the inventory himself. He just like, okay, I'm gonna say 14,223.
If I told you you're very low, what would be your next?
I would guess 112,000.
What if I told you you're still very low?
Really?
Yeah.
2 million?
He has over 5 million locks of hair.
My word. And by a lock, you mean a singular clump.
Yeah, like a singular clump of hair that somebody cut off. It is posted on a piece of paper on the wall.
Oh my.
He has
word.
5 million with an M locks of hair.
And how many of those people has he killed?
I don't think he's killed any. At least he hasn't said that he has. But what he has,
My thumb.
Tyler's not.
My thumb.
For the listener out there, Tyler's thumb went down so fast. Like we haven't even gotten. To
I'm
that
not
part
going to
yet.
be the first that he kills.
Well, here's the thing. He only accepts hair from women.
Good thing too.
So you don't have to worry about it.
You better believe it. I don't have enough hair to cut off into a lock anyway.
He said that he views this as kind of a world peace museum because he has hair from literally all over the world.
How do you spell peace?
And that
P-I-E
That's wild,
or
bro.
P-A?
That is so wild. P-E-A.
I've got a piece
said
of
he
the
would
world in my basement. Lots of pieces of the world. Lots of pieces of women
God.
in my basement.
Aw,
That's
you
what,
had to put it
that's
that way.
what he's
Oh.
doing. Why can't it... Okay, here's the thing. If you think environment, if this place was in a modern art museum, not super creepy. But the fact that this is in Turkey, in some dude's basement.
It looks like a catacomb. Like a stone-walled catacomb.
Yeah, that's classic horror show stuff.
And it's terrible.
All right, I'm not going there. Are you?
Nope.
Okay, 2 thumbs down. The Underwater Museum of Art in Cancun, Mexico.
I saw that one.
This is a museum that I would prioritize going to. I think it's super, super cool. Not necessarily for the artifacts and stuff, but because of the method of viewing this museum.
Okay.
In Cancun, which is a popular tourist destination, they have this museum of all these life-size sculptures made out of concrete and whatever. They're all submerged in the water, and to view them, you have to go on either a glass bottom boat tour, you have to go snorkeling or scuba diving to go see them. So it's all these exhibits, but they're in different places in the water, and you can go scuba diving and whatever. So it's kind of like it's like another level of interactive. So it's pretty cool. You know, little fishies swimming around.
I would do that.
I would totally do that. That's basically all it is.
I would absolutely do that. Thumbs up.
Yep. So it's like artificial reefs, basically.
Yeah. So you kind of, if you're snorkeling, you probably just kind of feel like a bit of a treasure hunter.
Yeah.
Like
Which
you-
I am
you're
all
just
about
kinda
that.
Looking around for stuff. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
I'm down. We should
Okay.
go. Where'd you say it was?
Cancun.
Yeah, we're a ways away from that. Okay, I have now the Museum of Enduring Beauty.
What?
This is in Malaysia. Now, this museum is dedicated to showing the different cultural views of beauty and the steps that different cultures were willing to take to get to that beauty. So they have large exhibits on things like neck stretching
Classic.
and foot binding,
Classic.
tooth filling, lip disking, and obviously like tattoos and piercings and things like that. Things that are more new, like Botox, aren't in there.
That's because we see that every day anyway.
Yeah. So that's what it is it talks through how they do these things and how it works. And sometimes these processes are very painful and very life-threatening, if not lifelong.
It probably gives a really interesting commentary on what we as people are willing to do to stand up to that cultural sense of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Several hundred years ago, they would do the feet binding. Like, it was widely practiced. And people may still do it today to some degree, but the neck stretching, the feet binding, stuff like that in different cultures. And it was a major danger to the people who were put into that and who chose to be in that as well. And today we look at it like, are you kidding me? Look at all the things you're doing to just be beautiful. You are beautiful the way you are. And then we've got Botox. We have, all these piercings and tattoos and whatever. And it's the same exact thing. It's just a little bit culturally different. And obviously I think we've figured out a lot of the safety things. But I don't know. I don't know if Botox is long-term safe.
That is a question I do not know the answer to, whether Botox is long-term
like
safe.
Maybe in 100, 200 years, we're going to look back on Botox as the same as foot wrapping and neck stretching.
With Botox, I don't know if it's been around long enough for us to really have well-researched after effects of Botox.
Besides just the split second, wow, that didn't work for you.
Yeah,
I'm not going to, like, I don't, okay, we're not getting into that. All right, go ahead.
Okay. All right, would you give this a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
That's a no for me.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a no as well, because just looking at some of the pictures made me squeamish.
Yeah, well, in that case. All right, I've got one that I'm really excited about that I would prioritize. It's called the Spam Museum.
Is it in Minnesota?
Austin, Minnesota.
Yeah, let's go.
Have you been there?
I have not been to the museum, but I know that Minnesota has the spam capital of the world.
Yeah.
Because I have been on tour to that area, and at the church that I performed at, I was served a massive amount of spam.
Was it good?
It was grilled, and I did not mind it. That's the only time I've ever eaten spam, but I did not mind it at all.
So the Spam Museum is obviously dedicated to that canned meat product. It is a quirky celebration of all things Spam. It offers a deep dive into the history, production, and cultural significance of Spam. It has interactive exhibits, a Spam-themed gift shop, and of course, plenty of samples. Their motto for their museum is puts a whole new spin on cubism.
What?
Puts a whole new spin on cubism, as in like Picasso.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
All right, and then just a little interesting thing. The people who work there are called Spambassadors.
Of course they
are.
So
becoming a Spambassador is up there with being knighted. We're proud to be represented by these noble food fellows. They'll make sure your visit is full of wonder and hunger. So, all in all, it's talk about a niche subculture.
Definitely.
Spambassadors, but I'm telling you what, I give it a thumbs up. I would go there in a heartbeat, and honestly, I would prioritize it.
I'm giving that a thumbs up. That sounds like a good time, man. Before I get to my last weird one, I'm actually going to plug a museum that I have been to that I very much enjoyed. It's still one of the best museums I've ever gone to. It is called the Crime and Punishment Museum.
Okay.
I went to this museum in Washington, D.C. It is now in, I believe, Nashville. But this museum talks you through the history of both crime and punishment. So it starts with like a room on like medieval torture and medieval,
Because that's where crime started, was the medieval age.
right. There was no crime before. Nobody ever stole anything or murdered anybody. So it had like the tongue screws and, the Iron Maidens and things like that you could look at. But then it worked your way into slowly more modern things. So it had like Bonnie and Clyde's car. It had different exhibits on actually like movies and how movies portrayed police and things like that. And the whole bottom floor was actually the location that they filmed America's Most Wanted.
Oh.
So you could go in and see the set. They had a full, basically a full autopsy room where you could go in and see how that would work, different fingerprinting methods, all these different things. It was a museum that we kind of went to as a family because we were like, this might be interesting. It was one of the best museums I've ever been to. It was so cool. Really enjoyed it. Wanted to plug that one. Would do again. Used to be in DC, now in Tennessee.
Okay. It would definitely give me the squirmies, but I would go because it's highly recommended.
Right. The first room was 10 feet long, and that was the medieval place, and that gave me a little bit of the squirmies. But after that, it was all normal.
Sure.
We actually were there when a fire alarm went off, and we happened to be in the police room at the time. And let me tell you, when you're in the police room and fire alarms start going off and lights start flashing, nobody knows that there's a fire alarm going off.
Of course.
So
not.
we had to people had to come up and escort us out, being actually, guys, no, actually, you have to leave. So, but that was how well themed it was. It was so plugging that for the listener. Go to Tennessee, see that one.
There you go. Okay, I've got 2 more, and then I have a list of honorable mentions I can read at the end.
Okay.
I'm looking here at the Crypt Museum in Paris, France. I don't know if you saw this one. It's a pretty simple museum underneath Paris because you good?
I'm not a fan. I am not a fan.
Okay.
You said crypt and you said underneath Paris. And those words in succession is one of my least favorite sentences I've heard in the last decade. Yeah. I don't like it.
So because Paris has been around for so long, a lot of people have died there.
Aww.
And they needed a place to bury everybody. So underneath Paris are all of these Parisian catacombs. It says, hidden beneath the streets of Paris, this small museum, focusing on that word small museum is located in a crypt that contains the remains of over 6 million people.
What?
Yeah. Bonus interesting fact is that visitors can see human bones arranged in artistic patterns, as well as gravestones and commemorative plaques.
Golly.
6 million people in an underground crypt under Paris.
So is it like the Roman catacombs? Which is skulls piled?
I don't know.
I do not like that at all.
All right, give us your last one.
Oh, man.
Oh, wait. Would you go there or no? I would go there.
I might go for the novelty of it. I would not enjoy it at all.
Okay, I'd go.
Playing off of the crypt idea, what would you say is the museum whose tagline is "Any day above ground is a good one"?
That sounds like the Museum of Death.
It's the Funeral Museum.
Okay.
Yep. So this is in Houston, Texas.
I'm not gonna lie. During the research, there were so many museums on death, witchcraft, the macabre, everything along those lines. It's like people are obsessed with those things.
I think they are. People want to know about death. People want to learn about death, and it's fascinating to people.
I don't.
You can make bank off of it. I'm not fascinated by any of those things.
There's probably a reason for that, and that is because we know where we're going when we die.
Indeed. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay, so the Funeral Museum exhibits many different things. This is one of the most actually legitimate looking museums I saw, as opposed to just being in somebody's basement. It actually looked pretty legitimate. They have many different exhibits, some of them rotating, some of them permanent, including exhibits on presidential funerals, the lives and deaths of popes. They have a certified copy of the Shroud of Turin. They have exhibits on historical hearses, urns throughout time, the history of embalming, and one that they seemed the most passionate about is the history of cremation. And actually, they basically say in their description that people don't really understand what cremation is and how it works, and they want to educate people as to how the cremation process goes.
There's got to be something pretty special about the cremation process if it's
I
more
think there's
than what
more
I'm
involved than we give it credit for.
There can't be that much
I've
more.
heard things like you don't just like chuck them in. There's there's more to it than that. There's the man, we may have to cut this out.
We're not cutting this out, dude.
There's the bone cruncher. You
What?
have to put them through like the bone cruncher. You have to do other things first before they get to the flame.
You're kidding.
This is what I've been told. I did not research this today. Maybe that can be next week's pod.
No,
But,
it's not. We are not obsessed with the macabre on this show.
We are not. That is fact. Be joyful in life, people.
All right, we're moving on. Is that it for that one?
Yep. Yay or nay?
Nay.
I'd probably nay as well.
Okay. I've got one more quick, and that is the Ohio State Reformatory. This is one that I've been to. It is my favorite museum of all time. It is an old prison in Ohio. This is the prison where they filmed The Shawshank Redemption. They filmed the majority of the movie there. There are tons of ghost tours that go through there. There's a lot of like quote unquote hauntings, depending on how you shake and bake that. I'm just saying it is one of the coolest museums you've ever been to. There is an eerie presence about it all. It's super big. It's super empty. It is really, really cool. The greatest museum I've ever been to. So the guy who gave us a tour, his name was Pastor Puff. He was a Baptist pastor who also moonlighted as a tour guide in this old prison.
That guy sounds like a good time, not gonna lie.
He would give ghost tours for different groups, and they all nicknamed him Puff Daddy.
I love that so much.
He was bald and had a mustache. He looked like Dr. Phil.
I love it. I love it on every level, dude. You've told me about this place before. I really do want to go to there sometime.
Yeah, it is a really, really good museum to go to. So, all right, honorable mentions. I'm
gonna give a yay to that.
Oh yeah, obviously a yay to it.
So I have a couple of honorable mentions as well. Do you want to just go back and forth real quick? You give one, I give one, and we'll just go maybe do like 3 or 4 each.
Sure. All right, the Museum of Nuclear Weapons in the country of Georgia.
I have the Bread Museum in Germany.
Weird. To go along with that, though, I've got the Mustard Museum in Middleton, Wisconsin.
I have the Ramen Museum in Yokohama.
Okay, and to go along with that one, I have the Dog Collar Museum as well.
I have the Disgusting Food Museum in Berlin.
Don't like that. The Museum of Pencils in Japan.
Museum of Hangovers in Croatia.
How do you even have a museum of what?
I don't know. I didn't research that one.
I'm not going to research. Okay, the Pinball Museum in Las Vegas.
We have the Museum of Jurassic Technology in Los Angeles.
What is that?
I believe that it is on, like, innovations in the Jurassic times, if you believe in Jurassic times.
Interesting. Last one I have is the International Cryptozoology Museum in Maine.
Interesting. I have the Parasitological Museum in Tokyo.
Like parasites?
Basically the Parasite Museum in Tokyo.
That's a thumbs down for me.
Yeah. Some of those weren't bad, though. Some of those would be thumbs up for me.
I would go to, of the ones I listed, I would go to the Museum of Nuclear Weapons, and I would go to International Cryptozoology Museum.
I'd go to the Bread Museum.
Do they have
and
samples?
And probably the Disgusting Food Museum. They probably do.
What we learned today.
All right, Tyler. What did we learn this episode?
I learned that toasters can be one of the pettiest appliances in your house.
It's true. I really want to know what happened to those people. Like, I really want to know.
I can guarantee they're not together. One of them's not eating well either.
I can say that I learned that if someone ever gives you a lock of hair, leave it at 1.
Yeah, don't
keep going.
Yeah, don't try to expand that collection. There are things to collect in life, and I think, to you listeners out there, I think this is the general premise of this show today: is that there are things in life to collect. There are good things in life that you can collect, good historical artifacts and things that people ought to know about. But there is so much in the world that is not worth your collecting.
There's a lot. And I think anything that doesn't bring you an uplifted sense of reality probably shouldn't be accumulated, you know?
Yeah, I just think if any of you are thinking about collecting stuff, maybe just ask yourself the question first. Would my mother appreciate me collecting these things?
I think that's a good way to do it. If your mom wouldn't be happy, that's a red flag.
Who else would care?
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, would Mr. Rogers appreciate this collection? And if he wouldn't, then I wouldn't appreciate it either.
If Mr. Rogers would not walk through my museum on his show, it's not a museum worth having.
Hey, that is good. Okay, well, let's put that to the test. Would Mr. Rogers walk through the Museum of Bad Art?
I think he would.
I think he would.
I think Mr. Rogers would definitely do that.
Museum of Broken Relationships?
I think so.
I think so.
How about the Hair Museum?
No.
No. How about the tiny Statue of Liberty Museum?
Yes.
Yes, he definitely would do that.
Underwater Museum of Art?
You can't swim in a cardigan, but he would do it.
He would take off his cardigan and hang it up before.
Very carefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Museum of Enduring Beauty?
No, he would not.
No, because he wants children to come away with the idea that they are beautiful the way they are and don't need anything else.
Yep. They don't want him to be freaked out. He would go to the Spam Museum. He would not go to the Crypt Museum. I think he would go to the Ohio State Reformatory, but maybe not on his show. Because there's a little bit of a difference between like adult content and for the general audience.
Yeah.
That'd be an exception, though.
Right. I think the Funeral Museum could be in that, too. Like, I could see him doing something like that, but not on the show.
Yeah. Would he go to the Museum of Mustard? No.
Yes.
No, he would not.
Dude, Mr. Rogers is from Pittsburgh and cares about ketchup, okay? He would go to the Mustard Museum.
Fine.
On his show. Okay. Well, I think that just about does it for this week. Great information. If any of you have been to these places, please let us know. Send us something.
If there's any museums that we missed that are worthwhile, and I'm not just talking about the local history museum, but the weird museums out there that we missed, or weird museums that you've been to that are actually good, we'd love to hear about those.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you all next week.
Thanks so much for listening to Rapid Research.